Good morning. So, welcome to today's stream. Today we're gonna try something different. Last week, we worked on the drawer that was following the talk from the last conference we had. Um, Emerson was called implementing complex UI with Flutter. So, try playing around with it to see if I can make it from scratch and see how that would look. So we did that last week. Um, let's take a look at that. I'm already on the profile. The one named it Fancy Drawer. Fancy login. There you go. It wasn't all that. It was just two widgets on a stack, and I was animate to go out of sight and all. What I did do was made this details page into a details widget that you'll just set the content. That way we can control just one widget by itself. Then we can change the page and log out. Very simple. I threw all the code on CodePen just so it's available for today, and we can kind of pick this up. So today's agenda doesn't really do much different than what we did last week. What we'll try to do today is we'll take this code and then try to make it through like we had in that demo. Pull that up. Look. So this is what we kind of sort of built in the conference. So it looks like this, where we had that 3D animation that you can bring in. I am doing a little differently because I want to keep it simple to begin with before I give it too much. Plus, I like to keep the code a little different than what's there, just so that we can learn something as I go. Let's see today if we can make our example that looks like this image at the bottom now to the image that looks at the top. It's 3D. Let's get right to it. First, to make sure that my ID is working. I've been having issues every time I run Streamlabs OBS on my Mac. It's just not very smooth. Go ahead and run this to make sure it all works. Step running. We have the dashboard. Does what we wanted it to format. So all right, so let's start. Now in the GitHub that they provided, Marston he actually has the whole code running and everything, right? But because ours is a little different, it'll be fun to kind of play around with that and see what we can get out of it, right? So what we can. Let's start with and again, in our case, the whole code is in one page because we are throwing this in CodePen at the end. It just kind of makes it easy to have it all in one place. So this is where the actual view lives. This is our whole view. We have a stack, we have a menu page, and then currently we're only transforming the details page, right? The menu page, which is this. widget in the back just stays where it is, right? So let's dashboard. So here we have to make some changes. Initially we had a slide numbers that tells us how much to slide, which we left it at 200, the value. We kept it as 200 times the value, so we'll play with that a little bit. But because we are not sliding and scaling anymore in that fashion, get rid of that. The rotation, that, and the rotation. Okay, actually, libraries. Oh, already have start map. Here we'll say this guy. Everything. Now I do want to transform this whole thing and then slide it at this spell. Oop. Try again. I would need an offset. Child. The offset, we had it as at 200 the time. Now I'm gonna have to break this into different. I'm gonna slide both of them out of there. Here we will say offset for the child going to side border. Of course, it's an offset, so you gotta give it a Y. Y, we just want to save it and see. Translates. Like it's squishing. I don't know if I should be doing that. Let's see. So as giving that, we also got to give it. I'm getting these numbers from Block. So Arsen has done all the math for us. Okay, better. Okay, so this is good. Now for the menu page, we need to do the same thing but in reverse. Thank you have to reverse the this one will come right. Sure, we try one for the menu. Yes. trying to do something. The problem is that my menu page full screen taking up the whole space. I don't think I'm that. So let's see what we can do. I have a container has all these to it. Make it not bad. But it does now, so when my menu page shows up, it only takes up that much space. Okay, so actually let's do this. I want to give it hard numbers. If anything hard numbers, things will look different. Like on a really wide screen, it will look weird, right? The whole big detail page will slide off just a thing. More of the of text. Uh, I don't know what that's gonna look like. Let's play with that. Do the same. Oh. Okay, that might. Okay, let's leave it at 1 point. Okay, this looks a little better. Right? Jumps nice. Okay, so one thing I'm gonna remove is this animation on the icon. The initial idea that would have worked nicely with the scaling shrinks and it's always in the screen. But if it's not doing that, and then that thing can remove all this anymore. The icon. Did I? All right. Yeah, the icon stays the same, which is what we want. Yeah, that actually wasn't bad. But it's quite straightforward. Okay, so what do we want to do now? We have all this. Now it looks a little weird where the let's do this. Let's just see how it looks on wide. Come here and replace all this. Add, of course, save. Again. Nice. Not bad. I think it looks nice on that number 1.3, whatever we use. Reasonable on a widescreen. Okay, cool. So, what do we want to do next? So, what I have not done yet is any sort of state management outside of stuff like what's selected and all. So, I want to keep it out because I want to spend a whole day, a whole stream on state. I'm like coming from a .NET world where things are so much nicely set up in that like non-functional programming using like MVVM. I've not done a lot of reactive UI on the .NET either, so haven't done a whole lot of functional programming. So the concept of state management it's kind of interesting. When I worked recently on React Native, I learned a little bit of what did we use? It was MobX, right? And then the widget tree was just not as great for that use case we were using, so we were going from MobX to the scoped model in React Native. So a lot of cool tricks I learned there. And then in Flutter, I did try playing with MVVM. I felt like I was fighting the framework really, because at the end of the day, even if you are using an MVVM, at least when I was, or the examples I've seen, they were using either streams to do the data binding or using provider to provide the view models, right? So I said, well, if you're going to use provider for providing that, you're then at that point you are using provider pattern, right? So I think what I've seen so far is the block pattern, which has a lot of support and fan base and all. But I also like the provider pattern just because it's the way it's pretty simple to get into, and then you can make changes as you go and make it more complex. But looking from more of a like teaching and learning perspective, it's easier to get into with provider and then just break away from there. Block pattern is great, but you have to then know that every time you start up a new project, you're going to put everything in block pattern, and then when you have new devs coming on board, they would have that learning curve to just learn what that means before getting into the app. So they're both cool. Personally, I have played with provider. I have played with MVV using provider. I've also done some dependency injection in MVVM using provider, just to kind of see how far I can try to fight the framework, or see how far I can take advantage of what it comes out with. But you know, it is what it is. I'm still having fun with this thing. I will have a block pattern discussion at some point. I also run the Houston Flutter group, and then we have state management discussions there. When we had the meetups, we actually have one coming up next week. It's always interesting on like what people want to do when it comes to state. It all actually depends on where you are coming from. If you are coming from React Native or web, you will definitely want to bring that, transfer over your state management knowledge from there. It's great. Anyway, a lot of talk. So what is going? Have a minute. get to my list view that has. We did this last time. If you didn't join, we have a list of um, gesture detectors. Gesture detectors. And in here we have just a text that says dashboard and all these things, and then we have a dispatch of notification. Every time you select something, it'll tell you what was selected. And then this notification is we are wrapping our widget tree with the notification. So when in the menu page here, when we select something, we throw or we dispatch this notification called menu options selected. I'm sending in two things really. First is the name of that, and second is an optional flag, which I learned last week that in Dart, booleans are null by default. I was assuming they were false. So that again, how we do it in C#. So that was interesting. Now when you do, so when this page dispatches a notification, our widget tree has two listeners. The first one is the one that listens to menu, and the second one is that listens to the click on the menu button event, right? When this one gets it gets the notification. I just left it as, and I don't really about that one too much. The notification comes in, and then we check to see what the, like we just set this page name, because then this page name derives what to show on the right. So we'll take a look at that right now. But we're setting the page name to whatever is selected. Then we just check, hey, if it's coming from login, then go ahead and show hide the menu, otherwise not. What that does is if I click login, I want to go to the login page, and I do want to animate, right, when I go out from the login page. So what was going on is when I did log in and I went to dashboard was opening up in a shown state. So I had to do this to kind of that it's not that. Without this, getting this, go to log out. Something. And show hide method just plays that animation forward and reverse, which animation is the animation. Otherwise, it just wasn't playing the animation. So yeah, so far so good. Page a little. By the way, I am using something called a base page for my detail pages, simply because I want to have a title that I can set on my. So when we go in here and we select a page, so this thing here, I have one single widget that I'm calling a details page, and the detail page has a child, which will be the body, which is here. One that says profile right now, then it has a title and then menu. So I just turn this into a base page. So the base page is the one that has a title. So each of these pages, profile page gets from a base page, and then that's the title for its base. And the details page, we create a details page. It has a content of type base, which just gives us access to the title. So when I'm building this UI, I can say stuff like widget.content.title, right? And then the body is going to be the content. So now I can have any page that has that extends base page, and it will be able to play. And I did that to, again, in this example, not to have to do this on every child page. Give every child page a scaffolding. Now, if I have a page that does not need this, they don't have to take base page. For example, the login page is just a normal stateful widget, right? The login page is not going to be part of this. Nothing fancy. And then of course, if you don't implement the build, it'll menu page. And primary. I don't want that. I don't want this part of the. Oh, do want though images. So let's to our browser. Run down to Flutter document. And then this is pretty cool, right? Which you can use a image from network, or you can use image assets from there. I have some, but was to go here. How do I want to do this? Do I go? Okay, let's work with the images. So in the assets, we should put in some images. All right, this is pretty cool. tells you how to do it all. So let's check out our projects. This is the native assets catalog, which currently only has app icon and icons. But what I want to play. In Android, I mean in Xamarin, we have to do the same thing, right? We can use an image that is either inside our project, or it sits in native code, because that's where the platform code picks it up from. In this case, so let's create drawings of dashboard profile. Setting. Courses. So bring in some image. I think I have a couple of these already. Grab. Let's see what anything that says setting. Does not. Let's take a look at this folder. See what it. Not really. That's Okay. Icon. Okay, this is good. So I found some icons that I have on my machine way back. So we're gonna get something quick. File, device, editor. Okay, this one is not bad. Let's use this. So we are using white. All right. Okay. Weird. Now we have an image here called dashboard. Now, do we have something for settings? Settings. Communication. Oh, this is so much better. Nope. This one is not bad. Count, circle. Actually, let's see if I can find one that does not have a circle around it. This is good. Let's go this one. Profile. We got 2 down. 4. Settings and logout. Settings. If you are wondering what am I doing, so I have material icons on my desktop that I've used in the past, and I'm just going through them to see if I can find a good one. And I'm sure they are there. I just need to get to one. To get to one. Nope. Okay. Looking. No. Notification. Oh, I'm feeling this should be it. And we're looking, and not finding. Oh, I got this. You didn't see that? Okay. Okay. Found you. Are you? When I just saw it, I know you're in here. Okay. Power settings. Not it. Ooh. Okay. So setting. Ta-da. Okay. Got another one. Oh, it's settings. log out one last. Okay, so it's in the same place. Sort by name. There you go. It. This one. Yeah. Okay. So what we have now, we have 4 images, and I on purpose gave them all a smaller size, so there are 48 dp. The idea is that I don't want to go into each platform and do the double X, triple X on Android, and then times 2x and times 3x on iOS. Let's see what. Now, if I come to my I want a row, and in my row image, load my image, the asset image, and give. Or get a key. Picked it a key while parsing. It's interesting. I had a extra space in here. Didn't like it. So now it's lined up with this. Now it knows what it's looking for. Sure. Yep. So it's fine. We can see the image show up. Let's go back and do that. All right. Profile. go. Copy paste. Now in a normal app or I would actually turn all have it all because we just there you go. Click on profile, like setting on log out does that. Oh, the images are a little big, right? And that's um they're all the size of like 48 dp. Fine. Let's look at the documentation for a second. It says you have the following in your application. So images. And this is for the guessing I'm gonna have to put them in their folders in here. So I will have a 48D. So this all is a 48D. It'll fall under there. Okay, good. We have something. So all this. Go back here. Better. I do want the spacing around the We run back here, say row. That is good. I want to see. Not. I'm gonna throw them on the edges. Full student. See, I want to put a little space between the image and thing, but I don't know if boxes. Jump back here. Yeah, I think the options we do have available, like space even, space between, space around. Okay. Roll. Give it. Now what happens is when you select an option, like I don't know right now what page I'm on, right? What if we put something in here that tells us that if we are whatever page we're on, give it some style. Okay, we have time. How long have we been? Hour and a half? But let's see if the next 30 minutes. Right, we do that. Let's see. We have a menu page. So in our main state, we have something called selected page. So we know what that is. At this, we that the selected page change. That and then that from the menu page. So what if I told it to select? I might create a menu page. I tell it this option is going to be selected, in the menu page. Yeah, let's play with that. I want this to be coming from a different. We have dashboard, setting, a log up. We don't, because as soon as you click it, we're gonna tap it. Will, but consistent. Wow. Again, I'm just doing this to make sure that when I look at the code later, I won't be thinking, why am I seeing camel? All caps just shouts. Oh, okay. Now what I want. Uh, uh-huh. Can I even do it? We'll say you are a selected, or give it a selected option. And then in our build, that's two different. Uh, What am I using? 5? I use a theme and then just add one more property to I don't know. And then we'll just give these guys. I want to change this, but I want to do this. If so we know by default will the default be dashboard? Log out. Log out. I don't want to care about log out. Make it. Make it. Start. Or cause either is the instead of final. It has to be. Because I'm passing it. Again, we don't care about log out because log out is not unselected. This one. It'll be dashboard because I'm passing it. Go ahead and do this guy in. Check that out. So now when we pass in, you know what page we are on. But of course, I don't like that styling. So do something about text. This. System is 300 is okay, 600. Okay. Okay. Can't tell anymore. This is good. Subtle. Going on. Oh, sorry, you guys were looking at browser this whole time. So this is what I would do. Was what I just did. Change the selected a little bit. So when we select, and no, What if I do something else? If I actually down to would be nice if we have a little preview of these icons. In that case, log out. Check out the not there, but it looks like iOS. Like me. Oh, I was wrong. The preview right in here. Change. Give it on a passe instead. Probably won't need icon at that point. Let's check it out. That's not bad. Right. So okay. let's finish up with a little bit of my website. This is my blog actually. Website is .com. I have a what I'm trying to do is do something with this to make it look a little. Gradient will look very nice. Do this page. Oh, I was on my menu page. See how I gave it a 1/3 size, so that the rest of the screen is just default empty nothingness. You can control that. Actually, turn that into something. It might look nicer if it's pattern. So should I turn this into a stack? Then whatever is in the back is gonna look and make a gradient things. Or should we keep it as just plain? For example, by getting a hang of open and close parentheses. I definitely like it better in Android Studio than code, that is. What we just did, that we turned this thing into a stack, and we said you take this side and the rest just be white. Toggle this back in. Page takes over, but when on there, I come up here to my S2. Did this instead of giving my menu. Like that the animation felt a little off. So again, we don't need that, so we can get rid of it. This now this is what one down here. Thing that is just to try out. Now this one looks much nicer now because you can kind of see the, the background staying there as we are flipping. So what we could do is that this deep purple, this thing that is behind this whole animation, can do whatever we want. Make it do anything. What the heck? Give it a duration. Make it say begin. Oh my god, can you get out of my way? Right? Oh, it looks really bad, doesn't it? What do we have? Not bad. It looks terrible, but there's we background we have. So if we turn it, so if we look at the example we were looking at. Uh, Hold that up again. Let's see this example. There are things that are happening, right? Where the background is just slightly darker than the rest of the app, and it seems like that the menu app background matches the drawer background. Let's see if we can color our stuff that way. What do you think? And of course, in this animation, the menu button dances from left to right. Oh, and we didn't do the drag on our end, did we? Okay, we can do that next time. We can make this the menu and a slide from left to right. Let's see. So we have back. Got it. Didn't like it that much. Have the container going to I guess what we'll do next time, we'll use our custom scaffolding and give it any color on top. That way when will just be like the example with scaffolding, color of the page. Well, we can do that next. The background. Now let's just ugh. Okay, let's just leave it as is. Getting any colors? Let's see, we can say not clutter. Flutter full. Oh, you know what? Shouldn't be still. Look at that. I can get rid of this. Let's say background going to no transparent is not good. Give it this on. Now the page itself doesn't actually have a background color, I think. So body, whatever is what I do want to do is title. Built-in color. Like what is start with some 3. Okay, not bad. I know the icon is here. Don't worry. There you go. Getting something happened to my settings page. What happened to my settings? Oh wow, settings page. Now, if we were to actually take these colors to 30. Looking at roughly zero five. Okay. That's the menu page. Happens to so it goes there, and then the body of let's find out the color of that dark thing behind it. I'm using Max color thingy mixer, the digital color meter. Sorry, pull the numbers out. They're not always accurate because they're using the default is like Adobe RGB. Get close enough. All right, now go back up. That's right. right now. But we need to go to our menu. And color actually is going to be a little different. It's reddish and black. Not select. And when it is selected, we go sure. Come on. 9646. This is okay, I'm gonna use a slightly different like that. Go ahead and now that we are okay, or the log out of oh break my oh because I am sending uppercase. Sending in an uppercase. Setting that to be absolute. Wonder how is this working? Okay, that makes sense. All these pages are dashboard. Profile. Settings. I'll take. What is that? What is login? Yeah. Oh. This this is why you don't want to have match. So since everything else is not uppercase, we don't need this either. For log out, let's match the color. Is that the background? Does not matter. Come on. None. Oh. Yep. I think bold is fine. And dashboard. Could be. What happens? Login. Login page. But no. Dash. There you go. Now it's there. I wasn't expecting to put this to get this far, but I think we're getting somewhere. I think now is a good time. Stopping. I'll feel a little silly now with those. Happens if. Oops. All right, so we have the images and everything. Should be, and change the icon. I can do that. Let's book the book. Tab bar icon. Let's take icon theme. Icon. Okay, so all right. So hello asterisk 6. Sorry if I screwed up the username. The audio is cutting off randomly. That's weird. Let's make sure. I am using a beta version of Streamlabs on Mac. That thing is very janky, to be honest. So I'm getting drop rates and everything as well, but I'm trying to replace it. So I have two machines at my disposal right now. One is Windows and three actually, two Macs and a window, and then one of the Macs have Windows running on it. But I'm still figuring out how I can do this best. So if you can hear, bear with me. As for Flutter or Xamarin, actually I think it depends on use case. Not too long ago, I would tell you Flutter is not ready for production. It's still very new. There aren't a lot of build tools available if you want to bring this into your existing Azure ecosystem. But now they are making a lot of progress there. But again, it's not. I mean, yes, if you do use Flutter, you can still go and have your CI/CD set up elsewhere. But if you are a Microsoft or a Azure shop, then you would have to do some legwork on your own. I actually prefer. I've built up this knack for developing UI in code. So in my Xamarin, I do a lot of XAML, right? But then if I'm creating a custom control, like a composite control, I may actually do it in code, right? But it becomes very hard to read in code. But I've been playing with Flutter for about a year now, more. So I do like how, I mean, just take a look at this, right? I'm playing with the menu, and I can make changes right here. And the hot reload stuff is just like like no brainer, right? It's right here. I can do all that. So I feel like it's more productive to do this in code, and a lot of other frameworks are doing it, right? So we know Swift UI is moving that way. Um, we know React Native has been this way. Um, Xamarin is now moving that way with the Maui. The idea is um, build your code and build your UI in code and like do all this, so you'll get like the same productivity. Uh, of course, that doesn't mean XAML itself is bad or it's slow or anything like this. It's just like people never like the Xamarin team and the whole Xamarin community. Uh, I think the community asked for a better XAML experience, right? But the Xamarin team was not focused on that. Initially, the whole XAML just kind of was like bootstrapped into, okay, let's make something happen, because the initial focus was on native, right? And then the Xamarin Forms came out. Let's just throw something together, and it worked for a while. But the team has been adding more and more things, making it even like more powerful, right? So you can do a lot of things in XAML. But I think it would have been in my like long time ago. I asked for blend for Xamarin, right? So I used to build Windows Phone apps when that was a thing, and I could do a lot of animations in Blend. Never have to go write up any code, right? I can just take my code. It was a little of inconvenience that you are in Visual Studio, you go to the Blend, right? Blend software, so it kicks you out. But then at that point, you're working strictly in your UI. So I'm adding like touch animation and like little subtle things to my tiles. If you remember Windows Phone, so when you tap on it, do this and like slide here, slide there, and then when I'm done, come back to Visual Studio and then just go to town with my C# code. So there's still that potential because WPF is doing it, right, and it's doing good. But I think it just feels like the whole Xamarin XAML was not up to speed, right? But I don't even think that's an issue, right? That's an issue if you are a WPF developer trying to do mobile. If you are a mobile developer and you are coming from Android or iOS side, now you have to learn XAML. It's easier to learn, but for a lot of developers, like, well, I have to learn something new, which is already an abstraction, um, for Xamarin, which is another abstraction. So it's like an abstraction over abstraction. I don't want to do this, right? So it just had a little bit of a barrier for new devs, at least the ones I've talked to. They, if you are coming from the web world, you are used to building your UIs in code. If you're coming from iOS and Android, not iOS though, iOS had that whole storyboard stuff. But if you're coming from Android, chances are you did a lot of that AXML and from UIs in code, right? So you are very comfortable picking up code. So yeah, I mean, I did WPF too, and again, I didn't do like my main development days were all around web in the beginning, and then I jumped into mobile. And I didn't jump into mobile, believe it or not, before Windows Phone was a thing, right? My first app was in iOS, then I did Android, then I did Windows CE, like embedded on the Windows phones, and then I went back to Android and iOS. Then I jumped onto Xamarin, my first cross-platform. I didn't do any phone gap or anything like this. I just never believed in hybrid things, right? Um, yeah, that's a normal. A lot of people do that. Right? They jump from desktop to that. I wasn't big on hybrid stuff, so I never touched. I looked at it, but I never touched phone gap or Ionic or anything like this. Even though it's perfectly fine if you are in that space, and that's in um, you won't hear me say stop doing that and do something else, because again, that's your thing. That's your thing, right? Like, do what you need, what you gotta do. But if you were asked me now that if you do Xamarin or Flutter, like my answer to you will depend on like where you are in your current ecosystem. If you are starting off fresh, look at Flutter. Right? If you are already in like a Microsoft base and you're already doing a lot of Azure things and you want something quick, then definitely check out Xamarin, because Xamarin is still more mature than Flutter is, right? It's been around for a very long time. You will find a ton of support. The community is huge, right? And it's like a great community. You can find a lot of blogs. I mean, of course, I do my blogging on there, so you'll find a lot of content to get you going quick. You just need to get out of that thinking of, oh, I don't want to do XAML, but XAML is actually your friend. Okay? It's not your enemy. But a lot of people, like, they just running around Flutter, like, running around this idea of that's the best thing that ever happened to people. And a lot of people say, well, Flutter is what React Native wanted to be and all these things. And they're all different tech stacks, right? They all have their place. Um, if you were to go out and try to build an app right now, you will find way more toolings for Xamarin and React Native just because they've been around for a while. Flutter is very shiny. Everybody wants to learn. Everybody wants to do stuff, but it's still like, it's still getting there. You don't see a lot of Flutter apps all over the store just yet, right? They're growing there. Um, the idea is the same, right? Like before Xamarin was around, everybody was doing native, so people realize cross-platform is going to be a thing, right? And right now in the market, the biggest player is React Native, right? And then you have people will want you to believe it's React Native and then Flutter, right? But you were like, hey, what about Xamarin? Oh, okay. Well, you never looked at Xamarin as an option, so you can't like discount it, right? So that's the biggest like misconception. People are like, especially the web devs, they are jumping from React Native to Flutter because they feel comfortable, because it's, if you look at both, they're very close. Their state management styles and their like development techniques, they're very similar. People feel comfortable that they can transfer their knowledge from JavaScript React Native world over to Dart, because it's the same time. When you go to the Microsoft tech stack, it's a whole different ball game. So if you're a .NET developer, I would say definitely look at Xamarin as well. It will get you started much faster. It'll give you all that .NET power that you can get with and use your existing C# knowledge. But I would say though, this is an opinion. People like I've heard, well, I don't want to build in more than one app, more than one language. I want to do all my development in one language. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? That means, well, I want to do everything in C#. So for me, Xamarin is perfect. That's a perfectly fine explanation. But even when you are using C#, let's just say you have to build something in iOS and you have to be in the native platform. Though the syntax is C#, you still have to use all the APIs that are iOS, right? So you will probably find yourself doing a lot of things iOS way just in C# language, and you are at the mercy of the assembly binding at that point. That are all the APIs, native APIs, available to me in C# yet or not, or do I have to wait, or do I have to write my own assembly binding? Which again, all valid things. You can write your own. I've done it. But if you are working with, say, React Native or Flutter, and now you have to do something in native, you can actually go learn native quickly for that use case and write something in Kotlin or Java or Swift, or if you're crazy, do Objective-C, why not? But you can always guarantee that because you're doing stuff in native, you will get the best performance from that piece of code. If you're doing location tracking or Bluetooth or RFC, anything like this, and there is no component available for you, and you're going to do it in native, you can be sure that that's the best you can get out of it, right? It's not a abstraction over that code. So you say we only have one mobile app I developed 3 years ago. Now it's mainly creating mobile forward. Okay, now we just see. So I have my own reservations about Maui, right? Mainly around the fact that the messaging is a little confusing to me, right? Because Maui got introduced as one UI framework for multiple apps. Perfectly fine, right? That's kind of what Flutter is trying to promise, and React Native is doing, right? That you write your piece of code, and regardless of what platform you're on, it'll work. But when you talk to people about Maui, like, hey, like, what is going on? Have you played with it? What's going on? They're like, oh, it's just an idea. But we are losing Flutter, new development in Flutter starting next year, where the team is going to focus on Maui, right? So it's not just an idea. So I like, stop saying that it's just an idea. It's not an idea. It's coming, and I for one am excited at the same time, because I do want to play with it. I do want to like, again, like my main mobile development is all native and Xamarin, right? So Flutter is new for me. So I do want that to be successful, of course. I do want to play with it. I do want to like start doing things in it, but it's just not available. So it's just a waiting game, right? You just gotta wait for it to come out. Um, for me, from coming from a services background, it does kind of like raises some challenges to me. And then I'm happy, like if you guys are hearing something else, please. But when I'm having these conversations with the client, like React Native versus Xamarin, right? That's a lot of the time I have to have conversations with, like which one to use, which one is better, why one over the other. And a lot of times it's basically because depending on who you have these conversations with, if their internal team is all web devs, they will want to go React Native. If their internal teams are like .NET developers, they will want to go Xamarin. And that's the way it goes, right? You're not going to convince them one way or the other. So it usually comes down to, well, what do you want? How quick do you want it? And how much do you want to pay for it? So Flutter is getting into those discussions, but again, it's not there because people don't know it. Dart is not all over the place just yet. The DevOps tools are very limited. So it will eventually get there. But when you're having these conversations between React Native and Xamarin, and now you throw Maui in the mix, it kind of muddles the water, at least for me, right? So you're like, well, yeah, Xamarin is evolving into this really cool thing called Maui. So we're gonna build you a mobile app in Xamarin, which we will like evolve into Maui, but then the Xamarin, the way we have it today, will still be there, or definitely, but there will be a new way to do that, right? So it's kind of, I'm still trying to find the best way to describe it. So we'll see how it all turns out. I'm excited. Definitely, I will check it out. But Maui is essentially what we are doing right now with Flutter, right? Where it's all write your code, use MVU for that. The MVU pattern where you are managing your own state, updating the UI and all that stuff. And I think it's great. I have nothing against it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. When they announced Maui, I was excited, and then I thought about it. I was like, wait, what does that mean? And that's when I started to have these. But yeah, definitely check out. If you are a Xamarin developer, please don't go into that versus conversation or versus fights, right? You are a developer, regardless of what development technology you're coming from. Learn a new one, right? That's what developers are for. That's what we do. If you are going to put all your eggs in one technology, and when that technology gets deprecated or goes out of fashion, then you are stuck in that situation, right? Yeah, and then again, keep doing that, right? You may, like, for your daytime, you may have to keep doing your C# and .NET because that what pays the bill. But on your personal time, keep exploring Flutter, right? Um, keep exploring Flutter because as soon as something fun comes out that you may have an opportunity to either introduce to your team or like jump onto that project, or like get that new whatever you want to get to, you'll have that under your belt, right? So you won't be, well, he's just a .NET developer. So definitely play around with that. And I would tell you, I hated JavaScript. Okay, why? I just didn't want to learn it. Did it in the early days of jQuery and Ajax, and I'm like, this makes no sense. Right? But this year I got to play with JavaScript. I worked with Node. I worked with Nest.js on Node, running on Node. I worked with React and React Native, and the more I played with it, the more I felt like not as bad as I thought it was, right? And I can actually work in it. Why not? So now I feel comfortable playing out with JavaScript. It's still new to me, right? I mean, it's not something that I can sit down and build a whole React app in a weekend. But it's I'm getting to a point where I've built React Native apps now. And again, I don't hate JavaScript anymore. I just think it's a whole different thing, right? That doesn't mean I'm not a .NET developer anymore, and that doesn't mean I'm never gonna be a JavaScript developer. I can do both, so why not? I'm doing both, right? So just keep an open mind, and that'll take you pretty far. So cool. Thank you for sharing that. Because I talked to, so I have buddies who are Microsoft MVPs, and I always tease them like, hey, what are you hearing that we don't know yet about Maui and stuff, and like they kind of just you know dodge that question because they're like, well, we know what you know. And if that is the case, then that's a little bit concerning that, hey, someone needs to know more than just, you know. But in any case, I will, so I do stream on Xamarin on Thursdays. I'm still figuring out the schedule. So every Thursday I'm doing Xamarin stream, and every Sunday I do Flutter. So in Xamarin, I'm building the segments control that I started working on last year. And then in the middle of me working in that, iOS 13 came out and that kind of threw me off. So I haven't worked in it for a while, but I'm getting back on that. So I'm planning on submitting my PR to Xamarin Forms hopefully this month, right? So because I'm very close to finishing it and putting a PR. So if you are looking at Flutter and Xamarin, like just reach out, Twitter, here, anywhere, like and I'm happy to talk through my experiences. Absolutely. Okay, so let's finish this up. Where are we right now? We have our profile going. We have this thing. So next week we'll probably pick it up from here and then can add more. Look nice. So before we go, of course, we are going to bring this thing over to our Flutter, to our sorry, CodePen, and we will paste it, run it. By the way, I do love this CodePen thing. Something is not working. Let's see. But the argument didn't match the app. Does it make sense? Shadow color not fine. Let's. As soon as I started talking nice thing about CodePen, it just started to act up. So let's try it again. Bring it here. Click here. Everything, and then this is one of the reasons that I think it's a good thing that we are not using image, because then there you go. It says shadow isn't defined. Save it and give it a second. I get the file. Run. Okay. Let me say that differently. When CodePen works very well. There you go. Now you see the login is that ugly font is because we are rendering on the web. We didn't give it a nice font there doing that. So let's go down to here. So if I give it font, I don't know if this, check the dashboard. There you go, not bad, right? Of course, the fonts and all these things, they look different here because of the web, so we'll play with that later. Error expected, font size 22. 22. Oops, do that. That's kind of weird. There. See that? That's what I was talking about. It the error shows up in completely random spot. All right. So we'll go to dashboard. Hit that 3. Now, if we make it really wide, change it, we still get that nice change. Right. So I think this is it. That should do it for today. We went over our example from last week. We made the drawer 3D. We added some styling here and there. Next Sunday, we'll do is we will make that menu slide when we tap on things. We'll see if we can throw in some other stuff like a nice page that turns the with the drawer and stuff. Go from there. So thank you very much for joining today. We will pick it up from here next Sunday. And if you don't follow already, please do so you get the schedule. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.